Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Board of Education meeting, August 23rd, 2022. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please stand for the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I will point out the entrances to the exit are over there and over there. And I would like to make a motion for the approval of the order of the agenda. Marion? Oh, motion. I'd like to make a motion.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Approval of the minutes. Clerk's report.
Be it resolved that the Board of Education accepts the minutes of the business meeting held on July 12, 2022.
I'd like to make a motion on approval of the minutes.
Motion?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Thank you.
There's one other set of minutes.
Approval of the minutes. Oh.
One more now.
Oh. I make a motion for the approval of the minutes. Again, Marion.
Be it resolved that the Board of Education accepts minutes of the reorganizational meeting held on July 12, 2022.
A motion.
Motion?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Public comment. Speakers will be recognized who wish to address the Board of Education on agenda items only. Thank you. Now I'd like to present Mr. Lars Clemenson's Superintendent's Report.
Can I click? Sorry. Good evening, everybody, and those watching at home. We are rapidly preparing for the start of the school year, but I would like to just start our meeting tonight by remembering our neighbor, Rob Long, who was superintendent and principal next door to us in East Quogue, a longtime Hampton Bays ally and Bingman dad as well. Hampton Bays and East Quogue work together on many, many things, and so our thoughts, the Board of Education, certainly Annie, as you start the school year, Hampton Bays is thinking of East Quogue in the days and weeks ahead. We're rapidly coming to the end of summer, so July is the month-long Saturday, and August is the month-long Sunday night scaries that everybody gets before the school year starts. So you can see we have some evening practices going on. We had morning practices. High school sports started yesterday. Wrapped up a very busy summer as well. And so there's a number of updates I'm going to give you on our summer. We'll have a more thorough report in September around the progress made by kids at summer school and some of the other activities as we start the year. But I do want to make mention tonight to welcome Dr. Della Speranza with us. So we had a board meeting early in July where Dr. D jumped in, traded in his white STEAM lab coat from the elementary school for the admin jacket to serve as interim assistant principal while Ms. Fox welcomes their new addition to their family. We congratulate her on that. Dr. D jumped right in, had the opportunity to shadow, but then we really didn't let him shadow too much, and we kind of just shoved him into the deep end of the pool and said, by the way, we're restructuring the master schedule, and good luck. But with all the support from Mr. Shug and Mr. Carlson and the team as well. But we welcome you to the role and really have enjoyed your impact and what you've contributed so far. So Dr. D, you have the opportunity to say hello to him today. We'll also recognize Mr. Carlson tonight with a tenure appointment, a recommendation during personnel, so I'll say more about that. We welcome the Carlson ladies back to Hampton Bays to celebrate that professional milestone. So let me start with enrollment of where we are as a district today. I have June's up there, so you can't read that left to right. You have to go over one and down one to see June's kindergartners are now August first graders. You can see we are a smaller district today than we were in June on graduation day. Our graduates, we graduated 204 seniors in the class of 2022, and currently enrolled with a schedule, we have 106 kindergartners. We do expect that number to go up. It goes up every year at this point in the year. We do get some families who are making decisions about whether or not they're going to go home to their other community, or they're going to stay where they are, they're going to go to parochial school or not, or just that they've moved here or have an incoming kindergartner, they just haven't called the school yet. Now they're in school mode. So Pilar is very busy. We were about this number last year, a little earlier than this, and you can see that the current first graders number 132. They wrapped up at 128 last year. So we're right in the 2,000 ballpark, which is a nice place to be. Big enough to have the programs we offer, small enough to really be hands-on and connected with our families. I give this each month as we go. The first month of school is also, those numbers are a little fluid in that some families who have gone elsewhere, we don't necessarily know about if we haven't heard from their school yet. So after the first week of school, when we see who has arrived and who hasn't, that's when we get down to the wire and figure out on the phone, where are you? Are you coming back to Hampton Bays or somewhere else? The numbers really settle in October in terms of our enrollment. HBSchools.us, new and improved website. July 20th was the launch date for that. Syntax Communication, who handles who assists us with communications and public relations, worked tremendously hard on that along with our team in redesigning the site. The goal was to make it more user-friendly and easier to access information. So I took a screen grab of that, but as you log on, you can see right at the bottom right there, is the scrolling Google Calendar. So you don't have to go to the calendar to find out what's coming up. And so we're all committed in all three buildings and at the district level to keep that level of communication clear and consistent and high. There are lots of communication methods, including Remind that teachers use, to School Messenger that we use for regular updates to the website. And we'll be engaged in that conversation this fall to find out the best places to be consistently communicating so that when a piece of information goes somewhere, it kind of goes everywhere. You know, for example, if we post something on our school's Facebook, that it's also posted to Twitter and Instagram, because we're capturing people who favor maybe one of those three social media platforms. So take a look around that website. We did post a little video and graphic this summer, drawing people to the website as well and highlighting that it's new. Number of construction projects are wrapping up. This is always the opposite of the dog days of summer, because it's like the dog park of summer, where everybody's just running around and making sure that we're ready to go for when buses roll in 2 weeks from today. So our high school locker rooms are rapidly coming to complete stage. Flooring goes in tomorrow, lockers are in, lighting is in, and then following that, the toilet rooms and shower stalls. And so there are a couple of I don't want to go too much into Larry's report, but you'll see we also did elementary school roof replacement and then tennis court resurfacing and restriping. Summer school was very busy. We owe our middle school leadership and the custodial staff particularly a big debt of gratitude. The newest building in the district was built to host summer programs, and the floors are different than the floors in these buildings where you have to scrape them and wax them. And so the turnover is different. Therefore, the programming goes a little bit longer, but these summer programs that you see in front of you really just exited the building last Thursday. And so we quickly turned the building over to the custodians. We locked the doors from everybody else and say you can't come in, while the custodians turn the building over, and poof, it's 2022-23 school year. But you can see we had everything from K-12, enrichment, special ed, and credit recovery, a number of athletic camps taking place, open gym sessions, driver's ed, K screening, music garden, We have orientations and meet and greets taking place next week for the big transitions, pre-K, kindergarten, 5th grade, and 9th grade. We had an afternoon summer fun program that was run by Scope at the elementary school, and then breakfast and lunch served. So a few years ago, we started food service in the summertime as well. So we'll report more on our summer school outcomes this year, the number of kids who took classes that got them over the finish line for that particular class and kept them moving on their graduation pathway. We'll have more information. We just finished scoring the Regents on Thursday, so all that dust is currently settling. We have a number of new faces, some of whom you've met over the course of the last few months. The high school has the bulk of the hiring, and it's nice for Mr. Stug's got a smile on his face because 3 bullet points is like a fraction of what the middle school has had to hire and had the opportunity to welcome over the last few years. And so there are also a number of staff members who have been with us but are in different roles, an aide to a TA to a teacher. But these are new faces who we will welcome. We'll have new teacher orientation starting tomorrow. Begins with a yellow school bus ride around Hampton Bays with me as your tour guide, taking you through the back roads of Hampton Bays. We feel it's important to let to give our new faculty and colleagues the exposure to our community. What are we proud of when our kids say, oh, this summer I went to the skate park? And it's another connection, another opportunity for a teacher to connect with a student when they know what the skate park is, or, oh, you worked at Tully's, or you went down to the beach. And we're proud of our community as, the cornerstone of it, and so we want our faculty to see that from the first minute that they're part of us, okay? COVID-19, I gave you this graphic last year, Candyland. We got all the way up to the top there, and then a few times we drew the card that slid us all the way back down, but then we clawed our way back up. Yesterday, Governor Hochul and Health Commissioner Bassett announced what is basically a normal opening. So we've been working hard to get to this point. So when we say normal opening, I don't want to say the new normal because we've been saying that for 2.5 years, but what that essentially means is we're going to start the year the way we finished the year this year. Masks are optional. There is no requirement to quarantine if there is a potential exposure in the classroom. For almost 2 years, we were contact tracing. How long was Lars with this person, and was it more than 15 minutes? And if so, that person quarantined. It was really a lot of pencil to paper trying to figure out those calculations. There's no more there's no more requirement to quarantine if you're a potential exposure. So you'll get the same letter, we call it the lice letter, that always goes out in kindergarten, in elementary school. Someone in your child's class has lice, give them another check, be aware, and just monitor your child to see if that's now true in your house. The same letter has been going out for a few months in the spring. Your child may have been exposed to somebody who has a COVID-19 positive diagnosis. The recommendation from the CDC is to monitor your own symptoms, wear a mask, and test at day 5 at least. We can provide the mask if you like, we can provide the test if you like. It's a recommendation, it's not a mandate, and so we make all of that allowed. Other than that, there's no more weekly requirement to test unvaccinated or undisclosed vaccination status of staff members. That is no longer. And the daily report requirement that Mr. Ferraro did by 3 o'clock every day to the state health department is no longer required either. We'll continue our COVID reporting locally. It's just a quick Google sheet. A lot of zeros on it. We've only had 11 cases in July and August combined. As with everything, there's a huge asterisk on this because if things swing in another direction, we're ready to, I didn't give you my pipeline graphic this time, but we could always dial the wheel back if we have to or if we're required to. So a letter to the community will go out either by the end of this week or early next week articulating what I just went through. But we're starting with a normal school year without distancing requirements. But there are a couple of things that we've done that are just great mitigation factors anyway. going outside as much as we can, windows open as much as we can, distancing when we can, right? And so all of those things just became good practice for everything, cold and flu season, strep throat season. So we'll take that with us into the new world, but the requirements are minimal to start the year, which is good news. Tonight, the town of Southampton is actually right now. The town of Southampton has a public hearing, among many other things they're doing tonight, to make an adjustment to town code for parking on Gravel Hill. So this is a high school issue, high school campus issue. We've struggled in the past with kids driving to campus who shouldn't be driving to campus, not because they don't have a parking spot, but because they don't have that right license yet. They might have a driver's permit or the junior license where they can't drive to school just yet. We communicate to parents that that can't happen, yet sometimes it does. What that resulted in last year, kind of at a peak level, was a very congested Gravel Hill Road. We did our best to work with neighbors, to push staff out there to make sure our kids were being good neighbors if they were walking to their car there, but there were a number of days, many days, where it was very difficult to get passage from Gravel Hill, from Argonne, Fanning, and further. So there was always that concern about, could we get a fire truck down that road? So we worked with our school resource officer, Eric Plum, and now Tony Vecchio, our liaison, Terry Tedesco, and our councilman, Rick Martell. And the resulting public hearing tonight at Town Hall is that the west side of Gravel Hill from Argonne to Fanning would be designated no parking. So what that will do is take cars that were there, hopefully the message is life is back to normal, get back on the bus, come to school or be driven to school, and you don't drive until you have your legal license. But, and there were some kids who just didn't have parking spots but had legal driver licenses. So wasn't a crisis situation, but it was something we were chasing over the course of the year. What that will do is give some more passage on that pipeline there to get down and for there to be some better visibility. We've worked with our neighbors. We appreciate our neighbors understanding that. And then in addition, as you saw with the enrollment chart, our enrollments are coming down. So there will be less humans on this campus year after as years go by. That's it, unless there are any questions for me for my report. We're really looking forward to the start of the school year. Teachers return next Wednesday and Thursday.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lars. Next up is Mr. Larry Lewis with the business report.
Thank you, Mr. Joslin. A couple quick things on the construction projects. As Lars mentioned, the tennis courts are complete. They're done. Folks are out there playing on them again and seem to be enjoying the new surface and the newly painted. High school locker rooms nearing completion. There will likely be some punch list items, like, for example, doors. We had a hard time getting new doors. So the old doors will be installed temporarily and probably in October. We may finally get the new doors. So there'll be some punch list items on the locker rooms, but the locker rooms will be basically ready for use first day of school. Elementary school roof, moving along nicely. The gym is the only part that's left that needs to get ripped and replaced. That'll happen next week before school starts, so that once school starts, there'll still be roofers up there working on gutters and trim pieces and things like that, but there won't be the need for all the dumpsters and forklifts running back and forth all day and all that kind of stuff. That'll all be done. We had our TAN, tax anticipation notes, sold this past week, as we do every summer. Our net interest rate this year was 2.56%. Just to show you a comparative to last year, our interest rate last year was 0.115%. So big jump, big difference. It was really nice when we could borrow money for almost nothing, but you can't do that forever. As Lars mentioned about lunch, starting this year, there will be no longer free lunch for all. The universal free lunch for all program ended in June. So we're asking parents, please go online, get the free lunch application or reduced lunch application, fill it out, and send it in as soon as reasonable in this school year. We need to get these forms back so we can get the kids assigned properly. So if they qualify for free lunch, they get free lunch. If they qualify reduced, they get that. But if you don't qualify, each lunch you take, each meal you take, will be getting charged to your account, and ultimately bills will be going home to the parents for those meals. So the application is right on our website. It's under the parents and students folder, and it's in the cafeteria link. So please fill it out and send it in as soon as you can. That's it.
Thank you, Larry. Next up, we have Business, Finance, and Operations. I would like to propose a consent motion for items 4A through 4E.
Before you do that, can I just make
Oh,
a
sure.
comment on some of these? One of these, we just offer a thank you to the Hampton-based Fire Department because included in this consent agenda is an acceptance of a donation of 50 bicycle helmets from the fire department. So communicated with them our gratitude, and I know the principals already have heads that they're planning for those helmets to go on. They'll be watching on day 1, 2, and 3 to see who's riding without a helmet. So thank you to them. That's it.
Oh, that's it?
Sorry.
Okay. Motion,
Motion?
second?
Second.
All those who approve?
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. I'd like to have a motion on 5A, Committee on Special Education. Motion, please.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We move to personnel. I believe Lars would like to say something before.
Yep, so we won't consent 6A, that'll be a standalone appointment, and that is a tenure appointment. So Mr. Carlson, and we're glad to have his family here. Normally, we have these meetings in June because of the normal cycle that teachers are hired on, but we were able to recruit Mr. Carlson back from East Moriches in August of 2019. And I gave him sort of the same spiel I gave Chris Pandolfo at that same time, that the district's in great shape, life is normal, everything's going to be fine, curriculum instruction's in a good place, you'll take it to the next level. And then just a few short months later, we went into a global pandemic. And everything about teaching and learning changed from a Friday to a Wednesday in March of 2020. So the opportunity for a Board of Education to grant and confer tenure on someone is really a milestone in someone's professional career. Everybody over here, for the most part, has received tenure in Hampton at least once, and the Board of Education has the opportunity now to confer tenure on Mr. Carlson for a second time. First as assistant principal of the new Hampton Middle School at that point, and now as assistant superintendent of curriculum and instruction. And I think it's great that Kate and Alex are here as they get ready to start their collegiate chapter of their lives at LIU, because they just had a year of great milestones and awards and new plateaus that they reached. And it's such a great opportunity to see your dad in that light as well, and to know that in your professional life you can continue to grow and reach those milestones. And in just 3 years, Mr. Carlson has brought us a focus on news literacy, a commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusivity, and a commitment to bringing people along in that work as well, a curriculum writing rebuild of our cycle, and then obviously remote instruction and quarantine instruction. So sometimes families don't always know the district office people, but certainly if you were quarantined over, one of the first people you heard from was Mr. Carlson, because he had your Google codes in order to get quarantine instruction. But so much more than that, Mr. Carlson brings to the leadership team a real sense of possibility. It starts with yes. Says, why can't we do that? That would be a great opportunity. And there's a quote hanging in his office that he lived by at the middle school as well, and that's never underestimate the impact you can have on a child. And so when you start your day with that mindset, he's been nothing but a contributing and valuable member to the leadership team. So it comes with my strong recommendation to grant tenure as an assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction.
Thank you. Do I read this? Marion, we ask you to read the recommendation.
Just A, 6A.
Just 6A.
Board of
Whereas,
Board of Education to act upon the recommendation of the superintendent, wait, that one?
Yeah, whereas.
Yep.
Okay. Whereas upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education tenure in accordance with Chapter 1 of the Board of Regents of the New York State Education Law to those candidate eligible, and whereas the Board of Education is in accordance with such recommendation. Therefore, be it resolved that the following individuals be granted tenure in the administrative tenure area indicated with the effective dates noted.
Okay, you need a motion.
motion,
Motion.
second.
Second.
All those opposed? In favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Congratulations.
So now it's outside.
Congratulations, Mike. We are very happy to have you as part of our administration and in the school system, and the support of your family. Okay, we move on to consent, 6B through 6N. A motion, please.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Yep. Okay. Okay, I would like to have a consent on items 7A through 7D. Motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We have Mr. Clemenson would like to speak at this moment.
Yep, we have a walk-on resolution to accept the school safety plan. So July 12th, we had the first reading of the school safety plan and a public hearing for that plan, and then a 30-day comment period where the community could weigh in. Mr. Shug and Mr. Farr did have a conversation with a couple of parents on some school safety conversation this week, and beyond that, there were no additional formal comments submitted. But we continue to update that plan to be responsive to our ever-changing world. During COVID for 2 years, you could argue that the buildings were never safer in that respect of school safety because we closed the doors and locked them and nobody else was allowed in. But as we get back to normal, our school safety plan is very responsive to the idea that kids learn great outside too. That there's going outside, going on field trips, being outside for a walk or having a class outside is important, but there are safety aspects of that as well. And so both the seen, security guards, locked doors, badges, and the unseen, the computer stuff behind that could lock a building with a click of a button or activate a 911 response are all part of that plan. So we will, the motion today that Mr. Johnson will ask is to accept the school safety plan so that we can submit it to New York State Education Department and distribute it to our law enforcement partners.
Okay, make a motion for the 7E safety plan.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. At this point, we have public comment. Persons may address the Board of Education on any matters of interest or concern. The board president will recognize all speakers. Time limits may be imposed based upon agenda needs.
Christina?
At this point, before I adjourn the meeting, I'd like to congratulate all our new members to the staff, and I welcome you to the Hampton Bays School District and Hampton Bays Town. And I've been in this school since 1957 as a kindergartner, and I'm still here 65 years later. So thank you again, and I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.